لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه، قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل دينه حتى أتاه اليقين. اللهم اجزه عنا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وأمتنا على ملته واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. We are taking what the Quran is telling us about our thoughts, our ideas, and how they influence our decisions, and how careful we should be when some idea occupy our head to the point of becoming a pushy idea. Sometimes you think of somebody in a certain way, and you think that what you are thinking is truly the ultimate absolute truth, but it is not. Where does it fall then? Thoughts are, according to the Quran, divided between an idea that is rooted in truth and fact, and a thought that comes from inside me. Where do the thoughts come from inside me? It is thoughts that the Quran tells us, for example, فَطَوَّعَتْ لَهُ نَفْسُهُ قَتْلَ أَخِيهِ فَقَتَلَهُ. His soul justified for him to kill his brother. Talk about the two children of Adam. So it is coming from inside him. And it keeps taking hold so that you cannot resist it. It becomes very pushy. Yaqub alayhi salam told his children when they told him about Yusuf being eaten by a wolf and stuff, بل سولت لكم أنفسكم. Your evil side of your soul is where you got an evil idea and you acted on it. Sometimes you talk to somebody and tell them, you need to change the way you think. Trust Allah and keep moving. Do your best and leave for Allah all the rest. I am doing my best, but nothing is happening. There's no change. I'm getting one and the same thing. Because the dhann, or the gripping thought in their head and heart, is so strong, so pushy, that they act on it not knowing, not recognizing, because they are not thoughtful. They stop thinking and they grab one of the ideas that took hold in their head and heart, and they are comfortable acting on it and working with it. So this is turned off. Okay. So they think that what they think is an absolute truth and a fact, so they act on it. I'm going to give you an ayah that exposes this. Yeah, it is in a special situation, but you will need to look for what the ayah text says to us. So here's Surah Fussilat, ayah number 17 to 22. It will lead us as to where the discussion is. As for Thamud, we've guided them. We provided them with the guidance they need, but they chose blindness over guidance. Which means what? in their thought process, judging the revelation of Allah or presuming that the revelation of Allah is not coming from somebody they trust. So they accuse their prophet of lying or misleading or exploiting them. So they attribute all the evil to the one giving them the guidance. So what is the reverse effect? They end up thinking that what is in their head is true and what he's saying is false. So they start with an assumption, and that process is very dangerous. When your assumption is false, but you treat it as solid fact. And this is where the discussion and the focus should be. So, what happened to them? The strike of humiliating torment has taken them over because of what they used to earn as a result of their position. And we save the ones who believed and those who used to be mindful of Allah. They were seeking truth and fact. They were not caving in to their own ideas. Do you know what the ayat are telling us? Do not bank on your ideas unless those ideas have been tested against truth, absolute truth, which means the revelation that comes to us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only then you know that what you're doing is right. Some practical examples is my wife or my husband are doing ABC. Then I make a conclusion and I say that must be the fact. But these are all ideas that are struggling, one idea against another. Could he be innocent? Could she be innocent? Could this? Could this? And the Islamic fiqh teaches us that anything that you want to use as evidence, if it does have another explanatory probability, then you cannot rely on it. If something can possibly be one way or another, you cannot bank on it. I don't know if I'm confusing anyone or just one, but I don't know. The idea here is when we assume something, test your assumption. How can I test it? And test it against what? Use the measures of the Quran. Because the Quran tells us that following your thoughts and ideas, which sometimes can be assumptions, dhann, is not good. It is not good. And we'll come to see this very clearly in the Quran. إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَمَا تَهْوَى الْأَنفُسِ. Where do we get most of our thoughts and presumptions? It is from our ideas. And when we do not expose our ideas to the truth of the Quran, then we cannot tell where this idea is coming from, if it is founded on truth or it's only my assumption. It's only my conclusion. Am I basing my conclusion when I judge my son, my wife, my husband, my daughter, my parent, and what they are saying as good for me or not good for me? It's based on what? Either feelings or ideas. Both have to be tested according and by exposing them to the Quran. So, وَنَجَّيْنَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Now listen to what's coming. And on the day the enemies of Allah are gathered and ushered towards and into hellfire, until and when they come to it, then their hearings, their sights, and their skins will testify against them because of what they were doing. It is talking about people in hellfire. May Allah protect us all from hellfire. That on the day of judgment, when they are ushered into hellfire, their skin will testify, their eyes will testify, their hearing will testify. Testify what? It will remind them this is the truth that you were running in your head, but you shrugged it off, you pushed it away, and you accepted your fun. You lived by assumption, not by truth and fact. And then, and they said to their skins, why did you testify against us? How could you speak against us? Because they were the tools that we used to pursue what we want. We use our hearing, our eyes, which means the processing tools for our ideas. We use those to make a decision and take a position. So they are saying, how could you testify against us? They say, أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق كل شيء. Allah made us speak as He made anything speaking speak. How do they speak? How do they speak? They speak in your record. In your record, and I don't want to digress away from the topic, but when you read the composite of ayat that talks about our book and how our book speaks for us, this book of records that we leave and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records on us, this book will speak. And it looks like a video record, not just a word. But here the ayah is saying, no, they are actually speaking. But speaking does not necessarily mean utterance. Like, as I mentioned before, when you watch a silent movie, the motion of one of the characters in front of you, it speaks to you. It tells you he is going to do this, he is not going to do that, he is avoiding this, he is afraid of this, he is trying to discover that. This is how images and bodies speak even when the tongue is silent. So, أنطقنا Allah, which means Allah made us speak the truth as witnesses of what you were doing. And He is the one who created you the first time, and you are returning back to Him. Now, the point in the focus of discussion here, and you were not able to cover your own flaws from your own hearing, sight, and skin. You cannot hide. If you think Allah is not recording, at least the Quran is telling you, monitor your hearing, which brings you ideas from what you hear, and your eyes, which gives you evidence that you could see. They will speak against what your plan was. So the Quran is telling us, even if somebody doesn't think that someone is watching, someone is recording, at least mind the fact the members of your body that you use to execute something evil or say something bad, your tongue will witness against you. Your body parts will witness against you. So here is, why do we then forget all of this? Here it's the ayah saying, but you assumed that Allah doesn't know much of what you do. This is the assumption. There is no hereafter, there is no resurrection. That's why I don't care if anybody believes in that. For me, life ends with death. Therefore, if I do something and nobody, no human being is watching and recording, I should not worry about consequences. If what I'm doing is going to be secret between me and nobody, then my secret is never divulged. So nobody could hold it against me. So the Quran is telling us, at the root of the decision to ignore and to be mindful of Allah's presence and watchful eyes over us, the root cause is the wrong assumptions about God. This is what Allah is saying. You thought that Allah doesn't know? Well, because we are Muslims, we believe in the hereafter, this does not belong to us, we think. But it does, because from time to time, when you are in front of people, you monitor your tongue, you monitor your facial expression, you monitor even your demeanor, you monitor what you do. But when you are by yourself, sometimes, and shaitan comes to you with ideas, you don't now become as careful as when you are with a group, especially if your image in their heads is important for you. And especially if what you want to do is not going to be recognizable as something good. So the ayah is saying, if you are muttaqeen, if you are, like ayah 18 says, we save the ones who believed and used to be mindful. So the antidote against false assumptions, taking hold and controlling our ideas and our action, is to be always mindful of Allah. What does it mean to be mindful? Mindful is two words that are put in one word. It means your heart is full of Allah's guidance, that you cannot run away with your ideas without checking with your heart, your conscience. So you're acting as a conscientious believer, not as anybody else. And this is a fact that, as you could see here, reality and our assumptions are not always consistent. The reality behind our ideas and the fact behind our ideas are not always consistent with our assumptions. And our conclusions also are not always accurate. You can guess, you can drive some logic and reach a conclusion, but if that conclusion is not tested by a fact checker, then it may or may not be factual. It becomes doubtful. So the Quran is saying, when it is doubtful, don't bank on it much. I hope I made the point, but we can go forward. And read this ayah number 157, okay, from Surah An-Nisa. We know that the Jews claimed that they have killed Isa alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that He has lifted him up to save him from their plot. But they insist that the person they crucified is him because they put him with their own hands. But Allah saying that was a lookalike. شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. It was the person who had betrayed Isa alayhi salam, and Allah put the face of Isa on him and saved Isa. How? This is the work of Allah. And when Allah is working something, we don't ask how, because it requires us traveling to the unseen world to understand if even the how is being explained, which is impossible. So, and we give examples about this before. Allah showed Ibrahim an example of how he brings dead animals into life. Did he? No, he didn't show him how. But he told him, slaughter 4 birds and cut them into pieces and throw them on the 4 corners of the mountain and call them, they will come to you. What did he show Ibrahim? Ibrahim saw nothing but the chicken coming back. But did he see the process of bringing a killed, torn into pieces chicken or bird, how this turned into life? No. He only saw them coming. So the how is never possible. Why? Because our eyes are not meant to recognize the process, how Allah does what He does. But we can see its effect. Its effect is those birds came back running to Ibrahim and he acknowledged it. So here is the same process. We cannot have physical, empirical evidence to show that Isa was lifted up to heaven in that fashion or that fashion or that way or that way. We don't have evidence, and we cannot recognize evidence if they were to be explained to us. So what do we see? We see the fact that another person was put in his place by the will of Allah, and Allah saved Isa from that process. So in explanation to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, whatever they are following is not knowledge, it is not fact, it's not real. They are only following their own conjecture. They are following conjectures, which means assumptions. And when we follow assumptions, we don't see what is going on. We don't recognize what's going on, even when it comes from Allah explanation. And then to make sure that we understand, it says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. They definitely did not kill him. They have no certainty that they had killed him. Everybody had some idea. Everybody is looking from one angle or another, and they made varieties of judgments over the matter. But at the end, do you think, with all the rebuke that the Quran has against certain evil acts from a group of the people of the book, especially the Jews, that the Quran takes interest in exonerating the Jews from killing Jesus? Christians say they killed him. They say, according to the ayah, we killed him. They don't deny it. They called him impostor. According to Isa, he told us, according to the current Bible as it stands today, they will do to me what they have done to Elias. They killed Elias, and they will kill me as they killed Elias before. So when you read all of this, you can make your own conclusion. But when Allah gives the final verdict and says, Jesus was ascended by the will of Allah, if you believe in Allah, you accept His word. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the vision and the understanding to corner our assumptions on the side and to test them before using them, because this is a central key for sorting our ideas out. Expose it to the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the love and understanding of the Quran in our hearts. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So as you see here, بل رفعه الله إليه. Allah lifted him up to him. Allah ascended him to him. And Allah is mighty and wise, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here you see the difference between the different versions of the story as seen by different people. The Bible mentions that two versions. In one version, they say all the disciples of Jesus fled, they ran away when Jesus was put up on the cross, according to the statement. But then another version, another gospel says they all fled except for one. That means what? You don't have a solid version. You don't have disciple witness. Then the third one is that whoever was left, it was only the mother of Jesus and the wed sister of Jesus, Mary Magdalene. And they both treated the issue as if Jesus was not dead when he was taken down from the cross. But this is a discussion for another time. So I wanted to just share with you that when you assume, even when you see something with your own eyes, the Quran says give the maximum benefit of the doubt, because beyond every physical action you see lies the intention behind it, the knowledge behind it, the information behind it, the motives behind it. And you cannot capture none of that by witnessing the physical event itself. So you cannot become a real judge except to say what your eyes saw. That is witness. That's why the witness in Arabic is called shahid, someone who has seen the event in question and is certain about what they have saw, and they can only speak to what they have seen, not to the interpretation of it. So when you are a witness, when you are invited to be a witness, do not speak except what you certainly saw. May Allah guide us to learn His book and to benefit from His book. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم، فستذكرون ما أقول لكم، وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا